Mom came in and said, I can't believe how my daughter has changed in 3 half-hour talks with you. And I said, well, it wasn't me. I just pointed her toward the truth of how we all work. And it was the truth that set her free. And the mom said the school contacted me and said they can't believe it, but she's like a normal kid in school now and doesn't have any problems. And said, well, whatever you're doing with your daughter, keep doing it, because we don't think if she continues to be like this, we don't think she has to go into therapy. I never had to talk to her again. 3 half-hour sessions. The first session I talked with her, I was living the principles before talking with her about it, because that's more important. If you went to see Sid Banks, chances are he wouldn't talk to you about the principles. He might take you for a walk in the woods with his dog. And to be with someone who's so deeply awake and present and so warm and kind is the teaching. It's not the words. It's not the words. Okay. When you really begin to see thought, this is something I learned from Sid. If you really see thought, it brings you right to the now over and over again. So let me see if I can explain what that is, because I want to talk about not just the principle of thought, I want to put them all together because they're inseparable. I want to talk about consciousness. Okay, Sid says, if you really see thought, it brings you back to the now. In other words, when I started seeing, wait a minute, I'm thinking up anxiety, I'm thinking up anger, I'm thinking up hurt, it's going, whoa, why would I keep thinking about that? It's like waking up from a bad nightmare. And you wake up and you go, oh, thank God, it's just a dream. That's how Sid saw thought during the day, that we can wake up from our daymares and go, oh, thank God, that was just thought, just a bunch of thoughts. If I let those thoughts go, it will stop, the powers that be will stop creating that feeling. And it gets always, you'll find out, if you let go of thoughts that create tension, stress, or upset, they begin to fall away. And as they do, they get, in a sense, you empty of that thinking and feeling, and you start to fill up with presence, which is a beautiful feeling, the feeling of being present. You can't think and be present at the same time. When we're resting in the present or in presence, it's resting. If for one moment I'm not holding on to a single thought, what's left? I ask you that. If everything you're thinking right now, you're just not paying attention to or holding on to, now you're this is what many people talk about as the present moment, talk about it as the now. Sometimes Sid used those words a lot. He would, if he really wanted to tie it in the principles, he'd say it's pure consciousness. You wake up out of the limitation of our personal thinking into the now presence. He said, as you understand thought deeper, you begin to live in the now more often. It's a beautiful way to live because you're free of judgments, free of thoughts that are judgments, free of shoulds, free of how you think you are, what you can do, what you can't do, free of limitation, freedom. That's why I like Jen and Dave use that word freedom. Some spiritual teachings say pure consciousness is a space within, it's a freedom space, free of all concepts. And all concepts are a limitation. Any concept is a limitation. So Sid would often say, go beyond the words, go beyond all concepts. What does that mean? Step into the now. We're a thought away from the present moment because it's always here. In the sense, we just wake up out of our thinking or let go of our thinking or drop what we're thinking and just look around, become present. 10 months ago, I had COVID. For 2.5 weeks, I was sicker than I've ever been in my life. Thank God from the principles, I didn't see much value in thinking about myself or my situation if that thinking created more tension on top of the physical experience I was having. So I went through 2.5 weeks without thinking much of it, and I was in pain the whole time. Had a headache that never went away, body aches that never went away, chills and heat and discomfort and brain fog and not being able to think. My wife said I barely talked for 2.5 weeks. If you, those of you that know me, might not believe that's even possible. And then on day 18, I woke up and every symptom was gone completely. And I don't know how to explain this. I'm sure it came out of understanding. For 4 days, I had no personal thinking. I have never been more deeply rooted in the now. Pure consciousness, what Sid describes, pure consciousness is awareness free of the contamination of our personal thinking, free of the contamination of our conceptual mind. It's pure, pure. And let me tell you what pure consciousness is like. It really helped me understand why Sid would talk about consciousness. To be wide awake in the now is one of the greatest gifts in the world. And you know what? It's so ordinary. We're born into it. Every baby, I love being with babies because I get to see what pure consciousness looks like. They haven't developed their conceptual mind. They need to, and it's the conceptual mind's a beautiful thing. It's a gift, but human beings misuse it all the time. It's a computer. It's a tool. It's not, we weren't meant to live in it. And over time, as adults, most adults are living in their personal thinking all day long, thinking everything they think is true. That's hell. That's what hell is. Right? And then we wake up. And with 4 days without senses, all I wanted to do was walk outside. And every bird song was the most beautiful music I've ever heard. There was no filter. I was in pure consciousness. That's where we experience enjoyment, and that's where we experience appreciation. That's where we experience beauty. That's where we experience gratitude. Why is that? Because our senses come alive. They're singing. Remember, we're talking about what makes our heart sing. We learn thoughts, so we begin to more and more wake up out of unnecessary thinking that burdens us. Who in this world wouldn't benefit from having less thought burden, less weighed down by thinking we're doing? It's a beautiful thing to learn about thought. It's a beautiful thing to experience directly, which is the only way you can learn about the principles, not by thinking about them, not by thinking about them. It took me a long time to realize if I listened to Sid talk, I had to just stop thinking about everything and just rest in the now. Because only in the now can we experience the enjoyment of life. Only in the now can we experience well-being. Sid had his enlightenment experience, and one time I had the chance to sit alone with him, and I asked him, I said, Sid, was your experience like a near-death experience? People all over the world talk about they almost die and they go into this tunnel of light, and it's so incredibly indescribably beautiful, and they experience feelings of love like they've never experienced before. Universally, people have that experience, and then they come back. He said, is that what enlightenment is? He said, well, I went into that light and I did experience love beyond anything I'd ever experienced. He said, but I didn't stop there. I went all the way through to the other side. And that's when I realized there is only energy. There is only spirit. There is only God. I realized the true nature of God, and all of us are part of this, what I call a dance of energy. Nothing dancing into something, falling back into nothing, moment to moment to moment. It's happening in and as all of us in this moment. But what I love about Sid, because he was practical and he was a welder, he said, I don't like to talk about my enlightenment experience because people think, well, that could never happen to me, or that's rare. What does that have to do with me? And he says it has everything to do with us. And we can all get a little teeny glimpse of that. And all we have to do is any moment when we let go of everything we're thinking and we're resting in the now, that's going into the light of consciousness. And we literally start to lighten up. And we do start to have, for no reason, feelings of well-being, peace, joy, love, gratitude, compassion. The words don't even matter because we're not in our intellect. So it's just the feeling of being, the feeling of now, the feeling of surrender. So Sid would say, it's all thought. Live in the now and listen for a feeling. I can be in the worst mood ever. I'm a thought away from the now. And when I rest wide open in the now, my senses start coming alive. And I see trees and birds, and I can appreciate what's around me. And then if I'm really sensitive, and the deeper you go into the principles, the more sensitive you become to presence, to the feeling of just being yourself as you are. Anger without any story, without any thought, is energy that left alone, not held by our thinking, by concepts, that energy radiates and it feels good. So I had an insight. Every feeling is love in disguise. There is only radiant energy in life. And ego is just the containment, temporary containment of energy so that we can formulate ideas and concepts, which used wisely is a beautiful thing. It allows us to communicate. It allows me to talk to you, to listen to you. Thought, consciousness, and mind are just three words Sid created because he wanted to talk about the very essence and source of all psychological experience so people could see the connection between the psychological and the spiritual, that we are being lived by these enormous forces. But they're just words too. For consciousness, sometimes he used the now. Sometimes he used the present moment. Sometimes he used the word just being yourself. For mind, in a lot of spiritual traditions, what they call the mind, the ultimate source and intelligence of all life, they call it the heart. Because metaphorically, the heart is the center of being and it pumps lifeblood so that everything can have life. And it brings warmth and nourishment to the human being. We're warm-blooded mammals. So it's a metaphor, is the ultimate formless source of life is not passive, it's pumping life into form. And in human beings, when any human being on this planet that I've met, when they literally are not engaged in a single idea just for a moment, when they're fully present, for no reason, they start to feel better and get new and fresh thinking that's helpful. Warmth and nourishment. These are metaphors. You can only talk about the principles by metaphor because they lie beyond the intellect. They include the intellect, but they, in essence, lie beyond, in source, lie beyond the intellect. So that's what I love about this. It's both the most practical thing I've ever learned. When I feel tension, stress, or upset, it's God's way of just tapping me on the shoulder and going, Dickon, you're now trying to use your intellect for something it wasn't intended to. Close your laptop, get off the screen of your thinking. We tell that to our kids all the time, don't we? You've had enough screen time. I just want to walk around to adults who are locked into their personal thinking all day long and say, you've had plenty of screen time now. Close your laptop, put your phone down, step away from the screen, come back to the now, look up. There's a whole movement of helping kids spend less screen time on their phones. It's called Look Up. That's what it's like for me. When I'm caught in thought, I'm looking down. And when I wake up, I rise up. That song, Rise Up. I look around, my senses start coming alive. I come to my senses. If I go for a walk in the woods, if I'm thinking about my life, I will not see the woods and experience beauty. That's why I love going for walks with Dave. He's up, his senses are wide open, and he sees beauty everywhere. Everywhere. We've had some of the best talks walking through the North Country there. Oh my. Nature is the visible face of God. Just what the clothes from Mother Earth. So, final word. Freedom. the logic of the psyche, the logic of the soul. The soul is another word for the dynamic, formless, creative, divine energy of life that's metaphorically within us. In other words, we're part of that. We already have it. In the same way the wave already has water and already has the ocean. That's what within means. We're already part of it. So Sid would say, it's all thought, look within, step into your soul, presence, open, senses, alive. And there's a quiet and a feeling there, and truth is always found in quiet and a feeling. And there is nothing freer for a human being than recognizing that we always have freedom and we always are freedom. We always are more than just a computer walking around on legs. We're pulsing with life. And we get to be ordinary schmucks. Let me make that the PS to this talk. We get to be ordinary schmucks. The other day I got caught up in my thinking. It seemed real. I was sure that this other guy, what he was doing was upsetting me. I said a couple of words with a tone. That's why Sid talked about forgiveness a lot, because I can be hard on myself. And I always beat myself up and feeling guilty. And then, oh yeah, thought, drop in, wake up. No need to fight against or try and fix or change anything I'm feeling, just be. And there's something very freeing in just being yourself as you are. And then it flows and opens, and wisdom takes care of it. You don't have to do it. And then you notice this deeper feeling of just surrender, of being.
Thank you, mate.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was beautiful. The ordinariness of the perfection of the ordinariness.
It's so friggin' ordinary. Sid would say all the time, keep it ordinary, come back to simplicity. You're thinking, beneath your thinking is this open awareness. And then in that awareness, there's a feeling and a knowing that will guide you through life. Come back to simplicity anytime, anywhere. It's always the same, never changes. Same motion, but it's always bringing new and fresh.
Thank you, mate.
Oh, you're welcome.
I've got no idea what the time is. I've kind of gone into a...
We're about right. Just come up to 4:30. Dickon, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they?
My email is the easiest way, dickon.bettinger@gmail.com.
dickon.bettinger@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's the easiest. That's direct.
Thank you so much for that, mate. Thank you for being part of this.
Really great to be with you, Dave. Jen, oh my gosh. Lisa, my dear soul sister. I got one of my soul parents there. I got nieces, nephews, Sue Pankowitz. Oh my gosh, Sue and Bernie. Oh, my family. Okay, everybody. Take care. Thanks for having me. Really, thank you.
Thank you, mate. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Send our love to Koiser, mate. Okay. Right, everyone. Forgive us. Did our internet dropped out? This isn't working. What's going on here, Jim?
It is working.
Is it okay? Our internet dropped out. I don't know. I hope it didn't affect everybody else's call, did it? No, at the moment I've got Nikki and Lise on, and Nikki Davison and Lise on. Did the call continue okay? In spite of it? It's fine. Go. Cheers, Nick. Cheers, Lise.
Yeah, for some reason the reliable internet that we've come to Kendal to use has just packed up. So we're on Dave's hotspot at the moment on one computer. So we had like this heart attack in the middle, thinking everyone had been cut off. But glad you guys all got to hear it.
Yeah.
I think we're only gone a few minutes, but yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Such is life. So tomorrow morning, if you can make it, we're going to start again at 9:30. Tomorrow, Lise, my sister, with some good internet, is going to be sharing. And we're looking forward to having another beautiful day. This is a via donation event. We're doing this. We are aware that people are struggling financially at the moment. So we're doing this via donation. So people, if you can afford to pay, we just ask you pay whatever you can. And if you can't afford to pay, we just ask that you pay it forward with an act of kindness towards another person or a group of people. Perhaps you could just do something kind to help bring some love into this world at a time when people are suffering. And if there's anybody who you feel may benefit from this retreat, if there's anybody who's coming to mind, please invite them along. We are recording this, but we'll be putting this out for people just to click on and just listen to. We're about bringing, as we said in our mission statement at the beginning, we're about bringing more love into the world and kindness, connection. So yeah, if you can make it again tomorrow, we would really appreciate that. It makes it worthwhile us putting these things on. And just please go and have a lovely evening. If you're new to this, don't think too much about it. If you're not new to this, don't think too much about it. Just go and have a nice night. Bernie, where have you been all my life, love? Good to see you. No. Sending everybody loads and loads of love. And hopefully see you back at 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Lots of love, everyone.
Loads of love, everyone.